delighted to be introducing this world premiere screening of Handling the Undead by Thea Hvistendahl, part of our World Dramatic Competition. Handling the Undead is a visually sumptuous, deeply intriguing adaptation of John Ajvide-Lindqvist's novel. It's a film that constantly subverted our expectations about what to anticipate about a film about the reemergence of the undead, making us think about questions and ideas about grief and loss in a really interesting, complicated way. It's a striking, assured debut, a film that is as wildly atmospheric as it is beautifully crafted. We're so thrilled to be sharing it with you here at Park City. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the director of Handling the Undead, Thea Hvistendahl.
Hello, and thank you so much for being here. That means a lot since this is the world premiere of my first film. Thank you so much to the programmers at Sundance for selecting our film. That means everything, so thank you for that. And afterwards we'll be doing a Q&A with me and the DP and an actress and the composer. And I hope you want to stay for that. And please enjoy the film. And thank you for coming.
Please join me in welcoming back to the stage the director of Handling the Undead, Thea Hvistendahl. Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful film with us. I believe you want to invite some of the cast and crew down with you for the Q&A.
Yes, please. I would like to have the composer Peter Rayburn come down. And cinematographer Paul Jackson. Okay. Yeah. And the authorizer is coming in a bit.
I think we can jump right into the Q&A. I would love to ask you first, what was your experience first discovering John Ajvide-Lindqvist's novel, and what was important to you in bringing to the screen adaptation of it?
I think what I really enjoyed with the book was the atmosphere and how it blended like the social realism but with this unsettling feeling, and also how the undead were like seen in a very like realistic and human way. So that was the most important, I think, to like make it both unsettling and a little bit heartbreaking. Yeah.
I think something that's special. I think something that's really special about the film is how much it foregrounds the love that the survivors have for their reanimated loved ones. Can you talk about sort of like keeping that at the heart of the film?
Yes, I think that was, that was one of the challenges, I guess, to also make the audience kind of understand the love that the living has for these undead people, and maybe one scenes like make them lovable or I don't know, interesting, and then other scenes make them more like unsettling. Mm-hmm. So yeah, to find a balance, I think was the core of the film. And yeah. Now the last is here. Sorry. Should I stay here?
Since Renata's not here, maybe you can talk a little bit about how you approached this deeply challenging role. I mean, you have to really carry some heavy scenes. Can you talk about preparing to go to those emotional places? I'm sorry, catch your breath.
Yeah, so it was, well, it's very universal, the grief and the sorrow, losing someone, but we wanted Anna to be withheld, that her grief was very held. And we had this one scene where she sees her boy for the first time after trying to end her life. And yeah, we planned for that scene to be very held, and she was supposed to be confused and but still not that much emotion. But I didn't want to see the doll until I got into the room, and yeah, it was just that was my first very sincere reaction to seeing that doll, which is very well made, but also that situation of that your loved one has died and you get to see it in a different state where it's obviously not comfortable, and it's a very gruesome sight. So yeah, we did many takes where I was more held, but you ended up using that one. But yeah, but it was very intense doing that role. It was a lot of heavy scenes. Yeah.
And maybe, Thea, you can talk about how you gathered this entire extraordinary cast to go to these dark, emotional places.
How I gathered them?
Yes, how did you get such a great
Just
cast?
ask them. I don't know. I mean, they're all so great, and I'm really happy to have them all. And I got like everyone that I wanted, so I was very happy. Yeah.
I think, you're talking about the importance of setting just the right mood for the film, and so like the visual aspect of the film, the cinematography is so important in like setting that place where it can be both deeply melancholy and deeply unsettling. Can you talk about crafting that in the visual style of the film?
Yeah, well, it's difficult to talk about the script is a dark script. It has a very emotional experience when you read it, so I felt like, and it's also, the theme is quite dark, death. So approaching it visually, it's a very strong visual script, so it's described a lot in the script, how it will feel, and also the author of the book, he's very good with atmosphere. So I think that was the most, but that was the inspiration to it, was the script and the story, and then also how Thea did her approach in the script, because she writes really visual, so it's just a joy reading it, and then obviously collaborating with great other filmmakers to achieve it, but the script.
And obviously the sound is so important in a film like this. Your score is really beautiful. Can you talk about crafting the score to enhance the
Well, I mean, Thea, really, it's, our team work. From the very first call, I felt like sometimes in the first call it feels like it's an interview, and sometimes it feels like we start to work. This one just felt like we were starting to work. That's how I felt. It was kind of, how do we get there? So the process was unpredictable. I think trying to find a balance between those feelings you were describing and not making them schmaltzy in any way, but also allowing the audience to feel rather than telling them what to feel. I think that's something we both felt very strongly about. So finding where that line is, not falling into horror, but certainly falling into kind of throbbing terror and threat and darkness and uncertainty. So we use a lot of different techniques for that. I made early on a sound which I just called, I think it was called Undead or something. It was just, it's made with voices and trickery. And we just got attached to this sound, so it became kind of part of the atmosphere in quite a few places. And you can't really almost tell when it's there, when it's not. So there's some really subtle things that Thea wanted me to do. And then I have to just say a huge big up to Thea being so brave with the soundtrack and with this film. I was so privileged to watch it with you all, and I felt like the choices that you made and that you had me make were just spot on. So yeah, and allowing And then finally, just, you know, on the subject of grief, I mean, I think the fact that the film started with less music, you know, grief is not a very musical thing. I think for a lot of people in deep grief, there's shock, there's just so many things going on. So I think as we discover these feelings, muted, less muted, snapshots of that, you know, until the end, snapshots of feelings. So I think we're allowed to discover these feelings with our actresses and actors and the visual film. So I think that's really a credit to your vision and your cinematic voice. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, very good. Maybe just one more question before we turn it over to take a couple audience questions. I'm just curious, this is for anybody, you know, was there a scene or a moment that felt like most crucial to you to get right in the film, that felt like it was at the heart of the film?
I guess maybe when Renata sees Leos for the first time, and the ending. Yeah. I don't know, all of it.
I'm going to go for Anna's character seeing her son for the first time. It's the emotional centre of the film for me, and we drafted and we redrafted and we undrafted, and it maybe was much more about how we set that scene up and how we work musically after it, and I think that was you know, just where it comes structurally and emotionally. So I think that's the kind of scene that you were talking about, you know, how muted you were and how outward your performance was. It's exactly the same with our experience of creating the score. Just where is that line so it doesn't feel like we're dramatizing. Because as soon as we do that, we fall into kind of manipulation. So I say that was one of the things we couldn't get wrong.
I love, you know, like Malde is your dad. You know, the setup of him as a granddad and the way he feels, I thought was really strong. Especially when the start of the movie starts with him. So with the first, it's also quite important.
All right, do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, please.
To piece together what happened with the characters, but I'm curious, did you give the actors more context on how their loved ones died or any other background?
So this is a question about how, it's lovely how we don't have all the answers about what exactly happened to the characters as an audience, but she's wondering if you gave the actors more context and background to bring to the roles.
Yeah, I think I did. I gave you more context. Yeah, they knew a little bit more, so it's more for the audience to piece it together. Yeah, they definitely knew more.
Right in front, yes, please.
There's an interesting balance of the tones, but also the genres. It felt like sometimes it was like a Scandinavian genre you're going into, and then more classic, zombie genres. And I'm curious how intentional that was, and there was any planning.
So yeah, this is a question about the blending of tones and using genre, but also having a very sort of Scandinavian tone. And is that something you were conscious of as you were approaching the film?
Yes, absolutely conscious. Don't know exactly how I did it, but I was trying to blend it at least. Yeah, it was conscious to mix it and just love.
I think we have time for just one more question. Yes, please.
I like that the different characters, there's different stages of grief almost. So you have the dad and the kids, the wife, she passes right then during the film. The older woman, she's had enough time has passed that they've had a funeral and everything. I wanted to know how long her son had been dead at that point, how long they'd been dealing with that before the start of the film.
So approximately 1 month. So he had been buried for 2 weeks.
Okay.
That was very quick. I think we can do one more question. Yes, please.
What was it like watching us all react to Balthazar's end?
Was it like watching them all react to Balthazar's end?
How it was?
What was watching the audience react?
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, I didn't see you, but I heard you. It felt like you didn't enjoy it.
Enjoy. I'm so sorry. I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, Thea.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.